Well, hello everybody. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for clicking on my channel. If it's your first time joining us, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because we are working on trying to provide a field guide for everyday Christian life. And I want to talk to you just for a moment about this guy named Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is someone who has just blown up over the social media world and just the world in general over the past few years. And he is known for being like the most male chauvinist out there, right? Like, he is just the extreme of all things, and he really talks about if you think of the phrase toxic masculinity, you think of Andrew Tate, right? His videos are just over the top. It's all about all the women he has, all the cars, all the money, all the things. And he basically says, you do it his way and you can have all the things, right? Well, I want to talk to you about him because there is something about Andrew Tate that I think that all of us in the Christian world, especially us men, need to really learn from, and to not celebrate him at all, but to learn from what he's doing and to realize that maybe there's something here that we can grow from as well. So also, if you've noticed, he is now in jail as of this video in Ukraine, and more things are coming out. But one of the things I began to notice when I would watch, because there were so many people talking about him, I started to look him up online. And what I really don't enjoy doing, I don't like looking at people's video on their own YouTube channel. I like when they do interviews, when people are asking them questions and they have to thoughtfully respond to questions that they didn't necessarily have a chance to prepare for. It really gives you a good idea of who people really are. One of the things I started to notice when I was listening to interviews is he wasn't quite so brash and in your face when he had a question posed to him. And you started to see that, okay, what he's doing here, this isn't really probably who he is. He's playing a character because he sees a gap here where he can exploit others and get attention, right? So I started to notice that. But the problem is that a lot of people who are following him are eating this stuff up. And when I was looking at this and I started listening to some younger men around me, I started to notice something that was both very troubling, but also something that was a little exciting as well. And so I want to give you 3 things that you should know about Andrew Tate, and as a Christian worldview, 3 things we ought to know about him, about what he's creating. Okay, you ready? Here's number 1. The first thing you need to understand about Andrew Tate is taking a kernel of truth and making something horrible out of it. Okay, he has recently joined the Islamic world, and he's kind of going through that whole thing. And so he's not a Christian. He wasn't a Christian before that, as far as I know. At least how about the fruit wasn't on the tree? But he's definitely not now. But the danger of Andrew Tate is he's taking a kernel of truth and he's making something horrible out of it. Example, a kernel of truth is that one of the things that God has tasked men with doing is being protectors. Protecting those around them, being that person who stands in that gap and protects their wives, protects their families, that stuff. Well, Andrew Tate takes that idea of being a protector, but he goes to that furthest extreme and he tries to lord over these women and tries to act like they're his slaves and all this horrible stuff. So he starts with something that is good and he takes it into something that is terrible. And that's where there's a danger, is when he talks about these things, a lot of these young men are coming back and they're saying, but it's good to protect people and it's good to do that. But what they need to understand is he takes it to the unhealthy place. That's number 1 thing we need to know. Number 2 thing you need to know about Tate. Number 1 is he takes healthy kernels of truth and makes them unhealthy. Number 2 is young men are flocking to this guy. Young men are just following after him, and they are just going crazy over everything he's doing. So if you're a parent that has young men, you need to know, I don't know what they're telling you, but most likely they've heard of Andrew Tate, and they've heard of all of his outlandish statements that he says, and whether you realize it or not, they're probably listening more than you know. And if they're not, their friends are. I've got 2 daughters, and they hear this guy's name all the time because a lot of these young guys that are in school with him are trying out some of his ideas and saying things and just being provocative because they hear it from him and they see him as the most manly man out there and they want to be just like him. So number 1 is Andrew Tate is dangerous because he takes a kernel of truth and he makes it what it's not supposed to be. Number 2 is to be aware that young men everywhere are flocking to this guy. And then number 3 is this: Andrew Tate is filling a void that we in the Christian world have created. The Bible teaches us that we are supposed to be mentoring young men. We're supposed to be teaching them what it is to be a man of God, to be a son in the kingdom of God, to be a husband and to be a father, and make a difference in our society and our culture, and to not chase after, trophies that fade away, but chase after the trophies that don't fade away, the legacies of our family and all this kind of stuff. But because for at least 2 or 3 generations, we've not been speaking to men other than quit being so horrible. That's all we've been really saying to a lot of men, or basically telling the men, be feminine, just like your wives. We haven't been speaking to the heart of our men, but also to, the character of our men. Haven't been doing any of that kind of stuff. Andrew Tate, whether he realized it or not, he found a void. He found a part inside the heart of young men that was yearning to be strong and yearning to be, powerful and yearning for that. And he has just taken it to the furthest extreme, and they're jumping after it. But can I tell you, even in the middle of all of that, all 3 of those things are also exciting to me, and here's why. Because remember I said the first one is that he takes a kernel of truth and he runs to a ridiculous place with it. But what makes me excited about that is that truth is attractive. Now, he puts it in a horrible place, but there's something that still yearns within the heart of a man to be a protector, to be a provider, to be someone who serves his family, to be someone who takes his life and makes the most out of it. And so I'm excited about that because that hasn't died. If anything, he showed us that the heart of a man is still alive and well and wants that. We just got to get it back to a healthy place. Get rid of him and come back to Jesus. The second thing I get excited about, as I was telling you, young men are flocking to him. Why that excites me is because young men are starting to understand it's okay to be a man. It's okay to want to be different. It's okay to want to move toward manly things. We just got to get it healthy, get rid of Andrew Tate, and come to Jesus. And then number 3, the thing that I love about that is I was telling you that he's filling a void. Well, that makes me excited because that lets me know that there's still a place for godly men to be godly men. And so yes, Andrew Tate is toxic. Andrew Tate is a lot of the stuff he teaches is the worst aspects of what it is to be a man. But I'm also super excited because he is showing us in the Christian world that it is now time for godly men to rise up and to learn and to teach what it is to be a man of God, not just for ourselves, but for our next generation. If we will do that, I think there's a whole generation of young men who are hungry for it. And so I would say, Andrew, thank you. Now, please, sir, come find Jesus and go sit down somewhere and let the godly men rise. I hope you enjoyed this video.